guys, I hope you're all doing really well. What a difference time can make from when I last uploaded a Flosstube video back in, when was it? End of January. I can hear footprints, or paw prints rather. Oh dear, well that's because you ran and you're in the middle of eating a biscuit, isn't it? She must have heard me talking and thought, camera time! So sorry it's been a little while since I've done an upload. So this is a mid-March one. Obviously I didn't get to upload at the beginning of the month. I have been really unwell. I picked up a virus, not the coronavirus, but I had elevated white cell counts, absolutely out for the count for 3 weeks, really unwell, and didn't really pick up any cross stitching during that time, so I'm a little bit behind, but I did want to come on and do an upload and catch up with you guys and just see how you all are. I know everywhere across the world is at different points in terms of expectations and what we're doing around protecting ourselves against the spread of the virus, but in the UK still we are not on mandatory lockdown. We are starting to socially distance ourselves from others, but we're not isolating unless we have symptoms or we have the actual virus itself. So still a fair bit of freedom here, although I have seen a shift in terms of the amount of people who are out and about and in places. Excluding supermarkets obviously, because it's still wild over here. I mean, who would have known that toilet paper would have been seen as such an absolutely critical item to have hundreds of rolls stocked in your house somewhere. I mean, I think it's situations like this where the very best of humanity is demonstrated, and also the very worst of humanity is demonstrated as well. And I'm not going to harp on about this, but I think some of the behaviour that has been exhibited around stockpiling has just been disgraceful, absolutely disgraceful. And we had one of the food, the ministers, I don't know if she's like the Minister of Agriculture or Food or whatever, we're getting bulletins from the government every evening and every day here in the UK, and she was saying that there's an extra £1 billion worth of food in people's houses at the moment that have been collected over the last 3 weeks or so, and you know, her recommendations is that people start to eat that and leave the shops alone for those who aren't doing the stockpiling. But anyway, you know, I'm going to do the cross stitchy stuff because I appreciate that that's what many people are just here for, and then I'll pick up and have a chat with you at the end. But I didn't want to just kick off, go straight into the cross stitch and not acknowledge what's going on in the world right now. It's unbelievable. There's just days where I can't even wrap my head around it, and I know many of us feel exactly the same. So that being said, I'm going to get the pieces and show you what I did manage to do when I wasn't feeling really unwell, so bear with me while I get everything set up. My little friend, I might end up having to put her in a bed if she doesn't, if she's you know, mither in. Do you know what, I will say this little one here has been, oh, she's been amazing while I wasn't well. You know when I think animals know, they just do, they've got that sixth sense, they know when you're not well, and she's just literally laid with me, sat with me, cuddled me, and made me feel so much better. And yeah, honestly, she's really kept my pecker up while I wasn't well. Right, so what should we start with? Let's do Mirabilias and Nora Corbett's. So the last upload I did, as I remember, was A Stitch With Me, and it was on the Royal Games one. So you've got the Queen of Hearts and the Queen of Spades. I might have a proper picture to put into this. I can't remember whether I did. I probably did for the thumbnail or something, but that is currently what I'm working on. And Daisy, would you like to just sit there for me, because I can't do this with you there like that. And this is my progress. Trying to work out which way around it goes that way, doesn't it? So that is what I have achieved. So the last time you saw this, I think I was working on the Queen of Spades. I will put in a picture of where I was last time, and obviously now I've gone on to the Queen of Hearts just to switch up the colour palette. But it's coming along nicely. There's going to be a lot of beads in this, which is surprising me, the amount of beads that are to go in it. But I'm really enjoying working on that. It's not going to be very big, so I'm stitching this on, it's a 32 count opalescent Murano in oatmeal. I think that's the colour of it. I think it is oatmeal. If it's any different to that, I will let you know. So I wouldn't say it is a hand dyed, but I wouldn't say there's really any variegation in that I can see anyway. But what I did want to do is have the colour like a playing card. So I didn't want to do anything too ostentatious in terms of colour choices. I just wanted it to look like they were on a proper kind of white cream playing card. So I've got another piece of fabric like this for the other one, because obviously I've got Royal Games to stitch as well. So obviously these will be framed together and mounted together, she says, because I really do, you know, finish my piece as well, don't I? But yeah, it's, as I said, it's not going to be very big. I think it's only like 11 by 7 or something like that completed. But you know, that's the size of the fabric it's on, and really all that's to go on here is like her head. But I will be stitching the skin 1/1. I like it like that, and not full cross either. I like to do it, what do they call it, petite point, or kind of sort of just one leg of the cross stitch. That's how I do the skins on the mirrors now. I never used to, but I really do enjoy how that looks now. So that is the first one. And next we have my lovely Persephone. So I'll put in a picture of where she was last time and what she'll look like when she's finished. Oh, you're getting yourself comfy on the cushion over there. That's nice. She's leaving me alone. So what I've managed to do on this one is get all of the background finished. So we have lotus flowers, and what were the birds? It does say on the back of the card. I can't remember what the birds are. They're like some sort of peacock or who knows. But anyway, they're done, and yeah, it looks fabulous. I love the background, and I'm so glad that I did the background. I mean, I wasn't at the time. I mean, that's stitched in Chiron Water Lilies in 2 different shades. I think there's forest in there and there's cappuccino. So I love the variegation in that. I have actually started a little bit of a 1/1 skin. I don't know whether or not you're going to be able to see that, just around a hairline. So I have promised for months and months on end that I will do how I do 1/1 skin, and now that I've just made that little nod on her face to stitching the skin, I'll be able to do that for you as well. So hopefully over the next month or so I'll get that up. It just depends on the situation, how things progress here, and work really, because we're now working from home as an organisation, including me and my team, who are naturally customer facing, out and about. We are no longer able to do that because our customer base is obviously the NHS. And this started last week, and I don't think, I mean, I work hard with work, but I don't think I've worked that hard and that long in a long time. We were literally all hands on deck, and this was 12-hour days for the entire week. From like 7:30 in the morning, the messaging started, right up until 8 o'clock at night. My line manager was still on asking stuff of us, and I know this is probably not fair, but that's what it was like. And I would imagine over time that intensity will have to stop, because I know I won't be able to work at that pace and that intensity for weeks and weeks on end if this is how we are having to work. And you know, there's a fine line between demonstrating we're being productive, but there's also a fine line between the impact on your own mental health with all of this going on as well. So you know, we'll get a grip of it, but obviously my ability to upload will be very much dependent on that, because for the entire week last week I didn't stitch. I could not do anything after I put my laptop lid down. I was just exhausted. I couldn't even think straight anymore, you know, and by the time my lid had gone down, you know, you were talking gone 8 o'clock, I had to have something to eat. I was trying to fit a bit of exercise in, and then it's bedtime because you're just done. So we'll see how it goes, because I just can't commit to anything in terms of this type of stuff at the minute, because it's just wild. But I will try and get a 1/1 skin filmed at maybe over one of the weekends coming if I can. So my next touch point update with you would be like an end of April, beginning of May kind of, you know, demonstration of what I've been up to, if anything, at that point. So yes, I'm pleased with how Persephone's coming on, and you know, I need to make some hair with her skin, and then we're on to the beading. There are so many beads on this. This is going to be like yeah, it's going to be gorgeous when it's done. If I didn't say, I'm stitching her on 32 count opalescent Murano in Slightly Nutty, and both of these fabrics, the opalescent Muranos, are from Sparkly's. So Kate at Sparkly's stocks this, and it's lovely. I love doing the mirrors on opalescent Murano now, and yeah, I don't see me changing that moving forward. I think they look lovely. Obviously it depends on the colour as to how dark I would be willing to go with opalescent, because these are quite subtle, and it, you know, it doesn't detract from the design, but something on a darker fabric it might. I don't know. I'm fairly new to hand-dyeds with mirrors, but there you go. So next up I have my little Santoro Gorgeous Girl, and again I can't remember whether I took an official photo of her, but it's Hush Little Bunny. These come as a kit from Bothy Threads, as I've said in a previous upload. They started doing like a hand-dyed background fabric, which I think is lovely, I really do. And this is the progress that's so far on her. So I finished this little bit of back stitching down here and sort of brought it round onto that. So yeah, I mean, she's just lovely. The back stitch on her is all done, and in theory she's almost finished now. I don't know what to do about this, because I like the way this is on the pattern itself. It then puts another border around her. I'm not 100% sure I'm going to put that on yet. I'm going to see how it goes. I might just leave it as like the fancy outline going around her at the minute, but you know, we'll see how that progresses. And yeah, moving forwards, I don't know. I really don't know with that one, but that could be a finish next time. I know I said that last time, but whatever. You know, it's a marathon, this, isn't it? It's not a sprint. You know, this is what I say to myself every time when I come and I haven't made as much stitchy progress as I would love to have done. You will have to excuse this next one. I've just literally ripped it off the lap stand, and it is, honestly, it's got more creases and it looks like Daisy slept on it for a month. It's in really terrible state, but this is my autumn at Hawker and Hollow, so I'll put in a picture of the finished design. And I have started to make some decent progress on block 6 down here. It's got owls on it, this one, it's lovely. I am stitching this in the Call for MPI silks, and I'm stitching this on a piece of fabric. I got this from so-and-so. I don't know whether or not this would be available from elsewhere, but it's vintage country mocha. It's an even weave, I want to say. 40 count, and I'm stitching this 1/1, so obviously it's going to come out 20 count style size, and you know, 1/1 with an MPI is a more cost-effective way of stitching with MPI silks. So I didn't want to be using 2 strands of MPIs at all, because it would have been twice the price, potentially, depending on how much of each colour I use. But I'm loving this. It's one of those stitches that, you know, you can just do without having to really think about it. There's a lot of block stitching, lots of block shading. It's just fab. It's just a nice one. So I'm hoping to get that 6 block finished, and then I'm more than halfway through, because obviously the topper was you know, a page in itself, and there's 12 blocks in all. So, you know, it's going to be a sizable piece, and then I just need to think about how I would frame it up. Will it be ready for autumn this year? No, I don't think so. But it's one of those pieces that, you know, there's no rush for it. I'm thoroughly enjoying working with the MPIs. They feel so buttery to stitch with. I mean, I love DMC. I don't ever have an issue with DMC, but actually I'm lying, I do, because my some of the colours, the lighter shades, anyway, I'll get onto that in a minute. But the MPIs are just so buttery to work with. They're really nice, and I thoroughly enjoy that. So the last thing I worked on was my gorgeous Steam Heart Chris Ortega Heaven and Earth design piece. I love this. I'll put in a picture of what she'll look like when she's done, and where I was last month. Let me just grab her, roll her out. So I've almost got, I would technically have a page finished, because I have dropped down to the next page. So God, she's huge now, you know. I'm trying to get her on the board. I'm going to have to stand up with it, because it's no good. It's no good. So here she is in her glory. Let me just straighten her out. So I've pretty much stuck with kind of working down this side here. So last time you saw it, I'd done about half a page on here, and then there's a few stitches to go in, and I dropped down onto the page below, because this is a point where the railing that she stood against kicks in. So, you know, I think I've made some decent progress with her. We're still working on all of the mechanical wings. I mean, she's just gorgeous. I do love working on her, and thankfully I've never got bored with her. So I'm stitching her on 25 count Lagana. I'm using 1 strand of thread, so 1 strand of DMC thread, full cross, and the coverage on this has been absolutely fine. Even the darker shades in her hair, I feel as though, you know, I've got good coverage. I like the aesthetic of this and how she's looking. I think it looks really pretty, very delicate, pretty designed. So, you know, this is where I'm at the minute. And I was making a comment about the DMC threads, and I've said it before in one of the uploads, that the lighter shades, I don't know whether or not it's how I stitch, it could be. I try not to put too much wear and tear on the thread, so I'm very careful when I'm pulling backwards and forwards through, that I'm not pulling, I'm not snagging. I'm just trying to be very careful with the thread, because the more you use it, you know, you can see it starting to wear a little bit as you work with it. So I'm using shorter strands. Obviously it's 1/1, but I'm finding that a lot of the lighter blue shades, like the bluey grey shades, I don't know whether it's part of the manufacturing process or the way they dye it, the integrity of the thread isn't as good. So I never have this happen on the darker shades. So as I was stitching her face and her hair, this didn't happen. But the background colours on this, like these light blues and greys, oh gosh, like the threads will just, you stitch in and you'll pull, and then there's nothing, because it's just clean snapped and shredded itself, and you're then having to try and work in the random ends that are there. Oh, it drives me insane, and I don't know whether or not I'm alone with that. I suspect I'm not, but I think that's the frustration. Normally I never have an issue with DMC. You know, when I'm working on Persephone, don't have a problem. I mean, I know I'm stitching that 2/2. It could just be that just with one stitch, it just doesn't hold its own as well. I don't know. But that being said, I do love working on this. So that has been my progress. You know, am I delighted with what I've done? No, but you know, having had half this time really under the weather, not able to stitch, it is technically only 3 weeks worth of work, so I don't think I can complain too much. And as I said, it's supposed to be fun, it's supposed to be a hobby, and the day I start beating myself up because I haven't done enough stitching is the day that I'll down my needle and not do it anymore. But some good news, and I'm hoping it happens, I did get accepted onto the bike ride. A lot of people didn't, so I'm feeling really grateful. And I know I've mentioned this to you before, so the organisation that I work for has very strong links with cancer and the management of cancer, and every year they do, oh God, I mean, they do all sorts of fundraising anyway. You know, we are actively involved in that and making sure that we support him as best we can. But there's a ride that has a cancer theme, so we call it the Country to Country for Cancer ride. And basically this is starting off in Europe, and it works its way across in 3-day waves across to the UK. So it runs for, I think there's about 6 legs of it, and I'm riding the last leg. So essentially I pick up in Paris, from the French team who pick up in Germany come to Paris. We literally pick up the baton, so to speak, in Paris and bring the ride to London where it finishes. And this happens in September. I found out while I was ill that I'd been selected, and I was one of the lucky, I think there's 8 of us, and I think 16 people applied. So I am so delighted that I made the cut and got on it. We've got our first touch point on it next week. I have offered to be team captain. I don't know whether I'll be picked for that, although I'm happy for somebody who doesn't manage people to have a go at doing that. So we'll see, I'll let you know. This is supposed to happen the back end of September. Whether or not it goes ahead this year, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. My dad has started working on designs for potential cross-stitch patterns that I would be giving away free via my Etsy shop in order to raise money for this. So that would be my fundraising. So somebody suggested a bike. So it's what I've thought. There's a couple of designs. My dad's done one already and he's in the process of evolving it. So I will share the designs with you and get your opinions on them. So there's 2. One of them is shoes with daffodils, which are the universal symbol of hope. And obviously in the UK, the daffodil represents the Macmillan cancer care that we do here as well. But in itself, a daffodil is a symbol of hope and renewal. So he's created these beautiful stiletto shoes with daffodils on, and then we're going to change that up slightly and lay daffodils with the shoes. So it's really nice. It's a really beautiful feminine design that is created. And the other suggestion came from somebody, and it was around a bike. So I've got a vision in my head of a really old-fashioned bike, you know, the type with a basket on the front. And in my head, this bike will be propped against, if you've ever seen the UK countryside, we have like dry stone walls. It will be sort of leaning against that. There may be daffodils weaved through the bike in the basket at the front. There'd be daffodils on the, you know, kind of growing on the hedgerow by the wall. And off the handlebars, I'm thinking of having different coloured ribbons, because obviously a pink ribbon is the symbol for breast cancer. I've been looking at all the different coloured ribbons and what they mean. It's like a rainbow. of colour to represent all the different types of cancer and the fundraising that's associated with it. So I've kind of got those images in my head, so let me know what you think. And I'll also be making scissor fobs and things like that to sell in the store as well, which will be then directly linked. So we'll do some yellow themes, maybe with like a little daffodil pendant if I can get hold of them, pink ones, you know, all different colours. So I'm thinking of doing that. Everything will be free of charge. The only thing that I would have to charge for is shipping. I say free of charge. What I mean is that I won't be making any money off it. So it's free of charge from me, but obviously there'll be a charge attached to it through the Etsy stores. If you know, if you pay £2 for a scissor fob, for example, I don't know how much it would be. I won't take any money from that. I'm not going to just say, right, well, I'm going to give a percentage to the fund that I'm working for or I'm riding for. Literally every single penny that I make from this will go there. So there'll be no profiteering from me. It's not about that. It's just me raising as much money as I possibly can. And for those who don't want to, don't want to buy anything or don't need anything, I'll have a Just Giving page as well, where you can just pop on and sponsor me for doing it. It's a 3-day event and it's 360 miles from Paris to London. And so we'll be doing on average about 120 miles a day for the 3 days. That's a lot. I will be receiving a road bike and a turbo trainer, I have been told, and I was praying to God that that didn't arrive while I was sick, because I would have just sent it back. And we're supposed to be fitted for the bikes, but obviously with the social distancing, I don't know whether that'll happen. But we just got to keep kind of hopeful that it will, and that I'll get to do it this year. If not, it may be deferred to next year if we find we can't train. But obviously I could put the bike on the turbo trainer, which is essentially a device that you take the back wheel of the bike off and you connect it to this kind of thing that controls the resistance. So it will give you resistance as if you're going up a hill and things like that. So I could do a lot of the training indoors if I had to. But we'll see. I mean, we're living in really unprecedented times at the minute, and we don't know what's around the corner for any of us. And I don't want to harp on about this moving forward. So if I'm not talking about it a lot, it's not that I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I just don't want my channel to become a place where I'm projecting my thoughts, other people's thoughts on you on this. We're all dealing with this in our own way. People cope differently under situations like this. I'm definitely socially distancing now. I mean, I'm a relatively antisocial person anyway, so this isn't a big deal for me. This is like my normality. I am really encouraging my parents to distance themselves. I mean, they're going to do this. They're allowed to go for walks still, but I'm going to start doing their shopping as of now, so they're not having to go to crowded supermarkets and be looking for stuff. I'm going to take that burden off them, because I don't want anything to happen to my parents. None of us do. So any loved one we want to keep safe. So I guess I think for many of us at this time, crafts, cross stitch will really become an awful lot of solace for us as we work through this time. And with that being said, I am going to leave you now and just wish you well. Just stay well, guys. Really look after yourself. Take care of all your loved ones. And as always, I send you all the love I've got through the screen, all the positivity. And I know we will get through this, and we'll come out as a changed society, I have no doubt. But we will get through this, and as a collective, and we just need to pull together. So I'm going to sign off now. Loads of love. I will see you really soon. I'm going to try and get the uploads going as much more regularly now. So yeah, I will catch you really soon, guys. Take care. Lots of love. Bye.